So I'm frequently invited to talk about my insights and experience buying cars, both new and used. Buying a car can be one of the largest purchases you'll ever make. Often it's the second largest purchase after a house. There's a bit of an art and a science to the process. Hello, my name is Paul Carroll. I'm the CEO and founder of Avion Wealth, an elite wealth management firm here in South Texas. So if I'm going to talk about how to buy a car, I will always start with know exactly what you want. If you don't know what you want, don't do anything else. And part of the reason is when you walk into a dealership and you talk to that salesperson, you have just cut yourself off from that internet sales process, which is almost always the best process out there. So know what you want, and when you know what you want, go check out that car, preferably at a dealership you're absolutely confident you're not going to use. So the next question to ask yourself is, are you going to trade in a car? You may want to keep your car for some other use, but if you're going to trade it in, you need to know what it's worth as a trade-in to you. Dealers often make their money on the trade-in. So go to CarMax or go online, figure out what you could reasonably get, not optimistically get for that car, and then subtract about 7% from that number. Why? When you trade in a car, you reduce the purchase price of the new car and you get sales tax on that reduced purchase price. So why go through the rigmarole of selling that car somewhere else when you can trade it in, as long as that price is within about 7% of what you could get elsewhere? Now, if you really don't like the hassle of selling a car separately, maybe make it 10%, but give yourself a discount on whatever that value is. Financing's also an important consideration. Depending on the manufacturer and how popular the car is, you may or may not be able to get a good deal. But you won't know if you don't get pre-approved first. So go get pre-approved. The best rates out there today are usually at credit unions, companies like USAA, and the best I could find when recording this video is about 5.7%. And they can go all the way up into the teens based on your credit and the age of the car and a bunch of other stuff. But this is a negotiating tool. If you're in the dealership and you want to buy the car and you can get that rate below your pre-negotiated rate, well, that's free money. Insurance savvy. Be careful. Some cars are extremely expensive to insure. Most notably, Teslas are far more expensive to insure than similar priced cars. And that's because the maintenance and the repairs are off the charts expensive. Something I might have learned the hard way. Only when you have all this information are you ready to negotiate. And when you negotiate, you want to do it with the internet desk. You're not going to negotiate in person. You're going to send emails out to the internet salesperson at dealers, not just near you, but maybe as far as Dallas-Fort Worth and San Antonio. Dallas-Fort Worth is a very competitive market. And depending on the dealer, very likely you'll get a better price there than at a Houston dealership. Or you'll be able to take that price back to the dealership and say, hey, I can get this in Dallas, will you match it? Don't make the mistake I made. The first time I bought a car in Dallas, I flew up there to pick it up, and the local rep picked me up at the airport, took me to the dealership, and happened to mention, oh, by the way, if you'd have asked, we would have delivered. They'll deliver the car. So don't be afraid to get that car out of town. This only works if you know what you want and you can express what you want. You don't need to see the car before you buy it if you know exactly what you want. And finally, last but not least, if you're going to get a used car, cars lose an enormous amount of value when they drive off the lot. And a lot of people think that's irrational. But it's not. Markets are not irrational. When you drive that car off the lot, you've driven into the price of the car subsequent experience. That experience could be a flooding, could be an accident, it could be poor maintenance. There's all sorts of reasons why that car is worth less, but they're valid reasons. And you'll find that when you buy a used car, say one from a dealer with a warranty, it's going to be a lot more than if you got it from CarMax or somewhere else. But you're paying for that sense of security and safety that comes. So I'm not saying don't buy a used car, just know that there are good used cars out there, and they need to be inspected by a third party. Be ready to do that. So new or used, these are some tips that will help you get the best deal possible and help you avoid suffering regret. I won't buy a car without going to Consumer Reports. There are some very popular brands out there that if you go to Consumer Reports, you will discover you are buying a maintenance nightmare. I'm not going to get into them because somebody watching this is probably going to own one of them, but go to Consumer Reports and make sure that the car, not just the brand, is not a problem. And that's another insight to know. Toyota is a great example. Toyota makes fantastic quality cars. I guarantee if you go to Consumer Reports, you will find a Toyota made that you don't want to own because it's having problems. Especially true with used cars. The one thing I haven't talked about here is leasing. Leasing in Texas is an awful deal. So why is leasing in Texas such a bad deal? It's because in Texas, they'll take the sales price, apply the sales tax to the sales price, not to the value of the lease. If you own a car for 2 years, the value of the lease is significantly less than the value of the car. But in Texas, they roll up that sales tax on the value of the car and then spread it over those 24 months. That's what makes leasing in Texas so difficult to work, frankly. There is an exception to this rule, and I'm going to talk about it in the next video. There's actually a way to game the leasing system in Texas so that you can come out way ahead. If you have any questions about this or any other topics that are appropriate to the affluent American, give me a call. We'll talk about it. We wish you the best of investment success. Thank you.